The Acolyte is the worst Star Wars series ever. And it's not just with this final episode that we're going to be doing a recap on and reviewing here in just a moment, but it's everything. It's from the very first episode all the way down to the 15% Rotten Tomatoes score, them choosing to make a DEI Star Wars instead of telling an interesting story for Star Wars like we saw with Andor. You got the fan backlash online as well, propping up in a serious way the dark side. And
Oh
I know
yeah.
this is about the Acolyte, but it's like literally demonizing the good guys of the story and saying the dark side is kind of justified in some capacity here.
Mhm.
And that's never been the case with Star Wars. It shouldn't ever be the case. And it's just kind of slapping the legacy of Star Wars in the face. And there's so many issues. There's contradictions in the lore. There's nerfing other characters that are well established and
Mm.
before this were not nerfed. And it's so, yeah, we're going to get into this last episode of The Acolyte, episode 8, and we're going to do a recap and review. We're going to take it piece by piece. It was wild, man.
It was insane. I was in awe of the garbage, of the trash that I was watching.
Right.
It was, I would say, unwatchable, but I couldn't tear my eyes away.
So it opens up with Osha in the mask where episode 6 left off.
Mhm.
And then, the dark side hits her with a little bit of an attack, I guess, or a vision.
A force vision, if
Right.
you will. And, we can see Chimere in there attempting, going into that sort of witch cult fugue state to see if
Mhm.
he can help her. And I guess he got through to her, even through the impenetrable force mask.
Right.
Which, okay.
It's contradicting itself,
Yeah.
man.
Yes, absolutely. It's incredible work.
Right, right.
Beautiful.
And
They're
so
better at contradictions than anything else.
they're masters at it.
Mhm.
Masters at contradictions. So basically they get the helmet off and apparently she's seen a potential future
Yeah.
with May killing Soul.
Mhm.
And so they decide they're going to go get May together in
Yeah.
some capacity.
And let me just say, I knew when she says, I see May, killing somebody with a lightsaber in hand, but she's not using it. I was like, oh, they're not going to do what I think they're going to do. They did.
They did.
They did do it. Yeah.
So it switches to the next scene. May and Soul are on the ship. She's laying there, and
Mhm.
Soul is they're having a conversation. He's making some pretty good points from an audience perspective. You're not
Yeah.
supposed to think that, but he is. He's making some pretty good points. I feel like
Yeah.
the audience is on his
Everything
side.
that they've done is every rational decision that he's made, and even some of his irrational ones, are based on, Jedi things, protection, connection,
Mhm.
trying to do what's best, seeing a threat and making sure that it doesn't, turn the little girl into force dust.
Right.
And so, yeah, he's making sense.
Yeah. So she escapes Soul on a pod, but not before. She uses the evil rebooted droid to
Mhm.
help her escape.
Yes.
And as she's escaping, she throws out a line, "See you in hell, Jedi."
Yeah, she hits with that "See you in hell, Jedi." I was expecting her to, like, flip him off or something.
Right. That would be more accurate.
Hilarious.
All
Good
right.
stuff.
So Soul's pursuing May in
Yes.
space, which is different because in the previous scene, he literally wanted to say, I need both of you to prove that there was a divergence in the force.
Mhm.
Still not sure why you need them to prove it.
Yeah.
You had the blood samples. You know what I mean?
Right, they
You
did.
had it.
They did. They had the blood samples, and they had the planet, the whole planet.
Right.
And
Exactly.
they had a coven of witches that,
Right.
could attest to this.
Right.
And, yeah, they have a nonsense chase scene through the ring around the planet above
Mhm.
Brendok. And, dude, he's gonna take her out.
He's literally contradicting
Legit.
himself again
Legit gonna take her
by
out.
saying, there's nothing I want more than to have you and Osha back on Coruscant so I can prove I was right. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And
And then he's like, "I'm gonna kill you."
much like Saul, I was hoping he would hit that button.
Mhm.
I felt it, and then that stupid beaver starts tearing at panels.
Mhm.
I hate that thing so much. I hate the way it moves. I hate its stupid little face.
Right,
I hate
right.
it. I think it I hate it more than any other character in all of Star Wars.
More than Jar Jar Binks?
More than Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
More than Jar Jar Binks.
Whoever birthed that out of their head,
Mhm.
shouldn't deserve to work in the film
No.
industry ever
Get
again.
him out.
Get him out, man.
And I'm sure the actor in the suit's doing his best or her best. Um, it's tough out there right now, getting work for little people. They're
They
really
weren't in a suit.
they're
That wasn't a
taking
suit. That was animated, dude.
You think? No,
Pretty sure.
no,
I'd
no,
be
no, no.
surprised. It's probably reference, you know what I mean? But
I gotta find out now. Let's keep going.
all right, so they go back to Coruscant. Vernestra, they interacts with her silly Padawan again, and
Oh my god, the silly Padawan,
silly.
Jedi silly.
And I don't
The silly
laugh. Well, look,
Padawan.
I really do think that he's the comedic relief, but between him and this whole I get nauseous in space or whatever thing that they revisited again, it's just not working. I'm laughing at how stupid that this attempt at humor is. I mean, it
Mhm.
really is so I mean that and what do we call it? A quarter Padawan with cheese.
Yeah, the quarter Padawan with cheese.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's just some really interesting choices with the Padawans in this series and not good ones. So she has a conversation with this dude that new character in the final episode that actually shows a little bit of intrigue into a story that's it's not intriguing at all, right?
Mhm.
It's an external review of the Jedi, right?
Yeah, the senator.
Right.
Right?
Right.
A somewhat interesting character who brings up some interesting points and some solid questions like, "Is this a threat?" And she's like, "No, it's an internal matter. They've only killed a couple masters and knights and apprentices. That's it, just a couple. It's not a
It's no big
massive
deal.
threat." Seems like a pretty big threat to me,
Yeah.
right? If somebody came into a police station and was like, "So what kind of threat are we looking at?" And they were just like, "It's just a mass murderer killing police officers."
Mhm.
I'd be worried.
Yeah, me
Police
too.
officers are armed and have body armor and training and tools and all of these things at their disposal that regular people don't have,
Yeah,
much
and
like the Jedi.
someone's out there killing many
And
of them?
somebody's cutting them like daisies.
So, that scene ends. You got Osha and Smilo leaving the planet to go get May,
Yeah,
right? And then you have the big reveal that
the
I'm sure
big
everyone was
reveal.
just foaming at the mouth,
Mhm.
like, "The fans are gonna love this."
Yeah,
Newsflash, the fans don't like it. So there's the big reveal that Plagueis is lurking in the shadows, right?
yeah,
And he
yeah,
sees them fly away.
and he's just
So
in there, just being evil.
this has a
He's
lot of
he's he's supposed to be young at this point.
yeah, this and we don't even know exactly, but the best theory we have is that he's young, I'm pretty sure. And
Mhm.
he's not an ancient species like Yoda or anything.
Right.
And so he's there. He appears to already be some kind of Sith master,
I didn't think they were gonna do it.
You didn't think they were
I
gonna do it.
actually didn't think I heard a lot of rumors.
They barely
Um,
did it
I
though.
heard a lot of
Mhm.
rumors that weren't, confirmed in this episode, that were just rumors. Like that they were gonna be, bringing back, Yord and Jackie and some of those who
Right.
died. That didn't happen. Um,
They're
Plagueis,
dead
I
dead.
I really thought was a stretch, but I'm happy to say that they did it.
You're happy to
I'm
say it.
happy to say that everything that they do is terrible. It's horrible. It's a complete misunderstanding of the entire story and all of the lore.
Right,
And
right.
so every time that they try to do something, some member berries,
Mhm.
whatever it may be, I love seeing it, man.
And
And by
that's
the way, the actor who played Basil the Pronoun Beaver is Hassan Taj. Um, no shade on Hassan's performance, right? Big ups to getting the role, you know,
sure.
um, because like I said, it's tough in Hollywood for the little people right now.
Right, right.
They're taking all your roles.
So this Plagueis whole thing has a lot of implications. It really does. It's
Hmm.
basically um, foreshadowing in a certain way that like the timeline of events and the people involved leading to the Skywalker
Yeah.
saga, the Skywalker story, and the anomaly that's supposed to be now is proven by people who are a part of that timeline of individuals
Hmm.
is no longer an anomaly because Osha and May were the first. You know what I mean?
Right. Or
Created
at
by a
least
coven of witches.
they're at the very least what they want is for May and Osha to sort of be the progenitors of
Hmm.
the experiments that Plagueis starts to do
Right.
with the midichlorians, and that the Force reacts to and creates Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. It's basically just diminishing. It's totally diminishing because the thing is, it was supposed to be a theory. It was supposed to be
Mhm.
something that Plagueis did, and then it was a big moment in the universe, in the Force
Mhm.
itself, that would create Anakin Skywalker. If the Force just creates immaculately through some witches who know how to manipulate the thread,
Right.
willy nilly, then what's the uniqueness of it?
Mhm.
It's downplaying everything that's supposed to come after this, and it's honestly just the most maddening bunch of garbage as far as just lore breaking or lore corrupting, and not even
Yeah.
like corrupting in like a fun dark side way. It's literally just corrupting to make it less interesting and less good of a story, I think.
Yeah. So I can take the next part here. So they're on the planet. Everybody's kind of converging on the broken down temple on Brendok. Saul arrives, actually uses the Force. Finally, some Jedi are using the Force. We see a little bit of Force usage.
Mhm.
Osha and Chimere trying to get in, and Chimere just disappears. Whoosh.
Also, remember, well, OSHA said we need to fix this
We
panel.
need
It's
to
the only
fix
way
this
in.
panel,
That was supposed to be completely broken,
dude. The there's no generator in this thing.
right?
How is this technology working? The thing exploded.
Yeah,
There's no
it
there
caught
there
fire.
shouldn't be any power.
And this planet and everything on it is very flammable.
Extremely flammable. The rocks on this planet are flammable. They shouldn't they shouldn't have a hot flame close to anything.
I
There's a
guess
reason this planet was destroyed before the Virgins. It's
right.
very flammable.
Right.
Um, but eventually they get up in there despite the elevators. May gets up in there, and at this point, May and Osha are now wearing different clothes. If you hadn't caught on to the transition
Mhm.
of one of them being of the sort of switch dark side
Yes.
light side type thing, and then I would say, and I'm not. This is just my assessment of a first watch. It's not deep or in depth or anything, but I think that I saw a halfway decent lightsaber fight.
Sort of. I got taken out of it by the slow-mo wire work. I didn't care
Yeah,
for that.
I'm I don't hate the slow mo wire work. It seems like it might fit in Star Wars because of a lot of the force jumping that they're using. But again, now all of a sudden we're using the force.
Yeah. And
Um,
and also it's the same thing. It's I don't understand why it's such a struggle. We saw this in episode 5. Why is it such a struggle? And honestly, like you're saying, a pretty good choreographed
yeah,
fight between Soul and Chimere, right?
hmm,
And then a woman comes in and just disarms him quick. You know
dude.
what I mean?
Before that, we got to get that scene with Amandla acting across from herself yet again.
Mhm.
Wow, that's bad.
Which
Gosh,
also
her, getting upset and sad, unbelievable. There's no talent,
right, and
right?
unbelievable in the literal
In the
meaning of that
literal
word.
sense that, like, I'm struggling to have any sort of emotional connection to these characters.
Right, right. Yeah, it's look, obviously she got the position because it's a DEI hire and Leslie Headland doesn't have
Mhm.
brain cell for storytelling. And so
Not
or
a
acting.
brain cell in that big old head.
And she
Not a
doesn't.
one.
And she doesn't even have any I would say very successful. I don't know. And Leslie Headland has no business telling stories, especially Star Wars. She
Yeah.
just doesn't, and that's another problem.
Dude, if
Why
you saw
this
that
is being made.
interview with her where they're asking about, like, Chimere and stuff, and she's just like,
Sh
he,
Yeah,
I
she
guess
was
he's"
speechless.
like, she has no idea what she's saying.
She doesn't know what story she's trying to
She doesn't
tell.
know
That's
what
why
Star Wars is.
it's full of contradictions. She can't even tell a story without contradictions, let alone trying to make a series in something that's drenched in lore. And she when they brought up in that interview that this interviewer brought up um the whole contradiction, right?
Mhm.
With Kiadu Mundi. And she brushes it off like I didn't even know about it. It's not a big deal. It's
Yeah.
just nerds are getting too passionate. It's like freaking
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No, that's not how this works. That's not how this works.
Yeah, so, we get our battles between the girls and between the lightsaber users,
Probably
and
the best
then
part of the show.
yeah, probably the
Probably.
best part of the show was I
Soul
would
and
say
Chimere fighting.
that fight was pretty enjoyable to watch, some cool stuff with Chimere using the dual
Mhm.
saber thing, Saul using a little bit of force, showing off kinda some I would say some pretty epic Jedi power poses and lighting up his lightsaber and
Mm.
taking command of the situation every
Right.
time. And then, May comes up and just
Ruins it.
ruins it. Dude, he can't sense them. I wish if they had had one little thing, just one, where Soul is like, I can't really sense you,
Right. Then it would
where I
have
have a hard time
explained
sensing
something.
you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That would have helped a lot for how often they catch him off guard. But she disarms him, um, tosses his lightsaber, which breaks. Don't remember lightsabers being so
Shattering,
like
right?
destructible, so easily broken.
Well, she threw it with such anger,
It was such yeah,
right?
such vitriol and
Right.
fierceness and power.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and then he starts talking to her, turns his back on his enemy,
Mhm.
and they're just like, "All right, cool, we're having a talk now."
So it's the whole thing of everything centers around the fact that Soul made the right decision and killed the
Mhm.
demon lady when she was trying to disintegrate the
I'm sorry,
child.
have you seen that picture where
Yeah.
she's like,
Yeah, we
dude,
I
her
saw the
teeth
show,
are
I saw the
sharp,
picture.
her eyes are black,
Yeah,
she's turning s into smoke, and what's worse is he's witnessing her turn this little girl into smoke, and yeah, he makes a
and I
correct
believe at some
decision.
point he says in the show, "Power I've never seen before."
Mhm.
So it's not something he's familiar with. So
Right.
as far as he knows, they're disintegrating into thin air.
Mhm.
Yeah, you save the child by
I mean,
killing the threat.
imagine if somebody's like, you got a strange weapon, they point it at somebody, it starts powering up, and you can stop them.
Mhm.
Like,
Like,
don't you?
it seems like once this thing gets too strong, it's too late,
Yeah.
right?
She could be gone.
But
Um,
they work so hard in these conversations to just
so hard.
completely demonize Soul for this one good decision
And
and make it seem so bad.
and here's the issue, having a conflict like that in writing where both sides are struggling
Mm,
and one person sees it one way and the other person sees it another, but ultimately somebody can admit, "I was wrong. I made a bad decision." right?
Mhm.
That can be emotionally impactful. The problem with the show is that everything that's supposed to be emotionally impactful has no validity.
Right.
I can
And it's
see
shallow, and it's
it
shallow.
feels so shallow. It feels like there's no connection to any of these feelings. I wrote down in my notes, it's emotion without emotion. It's
It's
emotion without
yeah.
connection.
It's not speaking to the audience.
Mhm.
None of May and Osha's motivations and feelings is conveyed to the audience at any point in this whole series. Like, we don't feel what they're feeling,
And
you
they're
know?
just berating him. You're wrong, you're wrong. You killed, you know, our mother. You're wrong.
Mhm.
That it's completely one-sided, you can tell in the writing. It doesn't feel like anything in Star Wars before. You remember the conversation with Anakin and Obi-Wan on uh, Mustafar,
Mhm.
where they're arguing. There's emotion
Right.
behind that, and even Anakin's like, from my perspective, the Jedi are evil, but w the difference between that moment and these moments is clearly Anakin's in the wrong.
Yeah. They're
Very
demonizing him.
clearly.
He's becoming Darth Vader, and we know who Darth Vader is,
Yeah.
and we know he's been corrupted by the dark side. This kind of makes it seems like they're enlightened by the dark side, and
Mhm.
they're not demonizing it in any capacity, right?
Yeah.
They're literally being saved by the evil Jedi from a Sith. You know what I mean? They're
And
literally
then
being
and then the
rescued.
best part of all, she picks up the lightsaber, her hand touches the kyber crystal. I don't know if it cuts her or whatever, blood gets in it or whatever, and corrupts the kyber crystal in front of us.
Mhm. I don't think that's how it works.
I mean,
I have
I
never
always
heard that
assumed
ever happening.
I always assumed that the Sith got a kyber crystal and corrupted it
Right,
with the dark side of the Force, right?
right.
Potentially, it was their old lightsaber, whatever, and they corrupted that kyber crystal, and it turns red. Um,
But then wouldn't have Anakin's blue lightsaber turned red in, Revenge of the
well, he
Sith?
wasn't touching the kyber crystal, dude. Don't you know anything? I hate seeing it. I hate actually seeing that happen.
And the thing is, they were like, Leslie Headland was like, "This is gonna be so epic.
Mhm.
Like, this is just gonna be such an incredible moment," and we're just kinda like, "No,
Yeah.
I don't want
Then the
this."
Jedi show up on
Um,
Brenda, and we
oh,
get
let's just say this, you know,
oh,
the
yeah, the
killing of
moment.
Saul, the Vader hand, the
It's
Vader
it's
choke.
actually it's not even like the choke or anything new.
It's the
It's
Vader
actually
choke
Vader
hand.
hand. It's almost comically Vader hand,
Right, it
where
was
she
very
has her hand
intentional.
like this.
Yeah, it's like, how does Vader choke people? Let's do that because we're trying to foreshadow that we were first, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, Anakin stems from us.
In
That's what's trying to be
the
communicated.
millennia of Force users, uh, uh, you know, and Sith in the past, nobody's ever Force choked anyone, I'm sure. Um, but we get the line when Master, Venestra gets off the ship. She senses something, and she goes, "You? You're
You.
alive."
It's like, "What?
I started laughing watching
You
that scene. She goes,
you're
"You?
alive?"
You're alive."
So that's some horrible acting from
That was
Vanessa. She's
that
just
was, not only the acting, but the writing. Oh,
brooding,
boy.
bro. Brooding.
She
The
brought
acting's horrible too,
all
man.
the Jedi, and I'd like to reiterate, I've said it before, I'll say it again, busted. The busted Jedi.
Just the
Just the
just
most
the
busted.
lowest shelf group.
She said, "Go gather the bottom of the barrel. We're
Right.
going. Some Jedi might die."
Well, she's like, "The Jedi are dying. Let's find the
Mhm.
expendables." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Let's just
Oh,
bring
boy.
the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
Um, so man, if for some reason my brain can't get off of this force choke thing. I'm sorry to reiterate it,
Mhm.
but again, it's kind of like the whole not killing with a weapon leads up to
Force
an
choke.
Anakin Darth Vader force choke. You
Yeah.
know? That's the answer to the kill a Jedi without a weapon. It's the Darth Vader force choke. So
I hate that so much because it really just taints more Darth Vader stuff. That's
yeah.
kind of his move. I mean, we see Luke do it, and Luke does it to the guards in Jabba's
But
palace,
Luke is Anakin's son.
right? You know, and it's pretty sick when he does it, right?
Right.
If she had maybe done like some lightning on him, I feel like I'd have been more okay with that.
It would have been better than stealing the Vader choke
Yeah.
and that being the ultimate moment of killing a Jedi without a weapon, right?
Don't you remember? Don't you remember when Darth Vader did it?
Remember the
Um,
hand?
yeah, so they bring all the Jedi, and then the girls escape. They leave Soul's dead body. They escape the way that um, May escaped when she fell. And I will say, the most concise writing in the whole show, quick and to the point. She's like, "I got sucked into this tunnel when I was falling."
Right,
Right?
because we
Just
were
the
all
quickest thing,
wondering. We
right?
were all
Just the
wondering.
easiest explanation. Knowing this show, I thought they were gonna, like, show a past vision of her getting sucked in. She's just like, "I got sucked into this tunnel." And I was like, "Alright, okay. I
Okay,
believe you."
I'll
The
take it.
best writing in the show.
Let's move on. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
But it's preceded by some of the worst writing in the show when they meet at the tree and they're hugging, and dude, I don't know if there's something wrong with me. I thought they were gonna kiss.
No, you're not the only one, dude.
Um
I thought they were at least give, like, a Frodo and Sam forehead kiss, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? At least one of those.
But Leslie Headland said this is supposed to be Kill Bill meets Frozen, the love between two sisters.
Yeah.
But wrong. Sorry to correct you on your lore, Ms. Headland, but they're not sisters.
Nope.
That's herself. This isn't a love between two sisters.
This is a love
This is
yourself story.
a love yourself story.
If that isn't the most idiotic, progressive
Narcissist, self-indulgent, narrow-minded, useless, pathetic storytelling.
weak,
Weak,
weak
weak.
mindset, dude.
Yeah,
The Jedi are out here considering the lives of thousands across the galaxy, and all you can do
but
is
they're
just
they're
obsess with your feeling about losing your mama.
yeah,
Mama!
mama, they gotta escape, right? And they're like, "What do we do?" And May hits us with some killer knowledge. She says, "Osha, what do you want?" So,
She's asking
what
herself.
this show is
Right.
truly about
Yeah.
is do whatever you want, right?
Right.
Just do whatever you want. Where did that get Anakin?
No, we're good.
Just do whatever you want,
Right.
right? Why did the Jedi last for so long? It's because they didn't do whatever they wanted.
Mhm.
I'm sure many of them wanted to kill unarmed opponents that were dangerous, or give in to emotions that could make them more powerful in a
Mhm.
fight. But they don't.
Mm-mm.
I'm sure Obi-Wan probably wanted to leave the Death Star with his friends, with Luke and Han and Leia, right? But he didn't.
He didn't.
Do whatever you want. Where did that get Luke? He lost his hand. He went to save his friends, and he lost his hand.
Mhm.
Um, boy, what?
Uh, Also, doing whatever you want, right? So, like from Obi-Wan perspective, when Anakin was being corrupted, he didn't want to believe it, and so he chose to do what he wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? To ignore the signs that what Anakin was getting into, and to not
Yeah,
confront him in a serious way on it.
yeah.
And what did that lead to? Just complete destruction. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Every time a character follows their own wants
Hmm.
and desires, they give in to their fear or their anger, it leads to it's bad,
Yeah.
right? Luke doesn't want to kill his father. He goes there to do it. You know, the
Don't.
emperor is like, now you can become my apprentice. You can take your father's place at my side.
Yeah.
And if I'm sure that was attractive, and if you can just do whatever you want, then why not rule the
Right.
galaxy?
Right. And from that perspective, you're good. You and your family can be
Hmm.
fine because you're going to be the leader of the galaxy.
Yeah.
No, you don't do what you want. This is just self-indulgence, just progressive ideologies being modern progressive
Hmm.
ideologies, which are incorrect, being shoved into Star Wars stories to try to tell a message of self-love, right?
Yeah.
And it's not about that. It's about good versus evil and self-sacrifice in the face of insurmountable evil. That's what
Hmm.
Star Wars is, and that's what it always should be. If you want to tell a story about an acolyte where you're diving into the dark side, that's great. It still needs to end with the dark side being the bad guys.
It should always end with, even if you like the main character, it should end tragically.
Yeah,
It should always end
not good,
tragically,
not good.
right?
So
But yeah, so they wipe May's mind. She can't recite their little poem, which r- ridiculous, and which also they didn't come up with.
they
The
just knew.
force probably did.
Yeah,
The
well,
thread.
the
The thread came
thread.
up with it for them.
All right,
Um, and then, you know, back at the Jedi Temple, Venestra's covering stuff up,
and
covering it all up.
not just covering it up. It's placing the blame of everything that she did, like that she ignored, and bad
Mhm.
things happened because she allowed things to happen, as well as all of the other Jedi that were involved that
Yeah.
are dead but still involved, placing it all on Soul.
Yeah, and then we're keep in mind, we are supposed to, as the viewers, have the opinion that Saul was in the wrong and that he wasn't a
They
good
tried really
Jedi,
hard.
right? But
Freaking
she says like that he was a great Jedi. He was one of the best Jedi I've ever known, and that's just like the same. It's you know from their perspective, it's the you know giving honor to somebody who's
mm.
gone and didn't deserve it. Um, and so yes. Also, I'd like to point out the Jedi Temple in this show busted. Just absolutely busted.
Yeah.
It's small, it's cramped, it's
Don't
it's
feel like
got
Coruscant.
it's got some weird colors going on.
Like whoever that was. I don't think it wasn't the Jedi Council. It was like some kind of Senate
It was
council.
it seemed like a small Senate hearing,
Yeah.
probably probably more senators from Coruscant
Right,
and
dude.
maybe some of the other
Every other character looked like they should be from Panem,
busted.
right? Like just with the
Busted.
multicolored hair. When did we ever have wacky like SJW hair except for that pink-haired lady in the Force Awakens or whatever? You know what I mean? Who
It's new stuff. It's Disney Star Wars now, dude.
it's so ridiculous.
Um, yeah, so Venestra blames everything on Saul, probably because she wants to hunt down Chimere without anybody,
Without interruptions.
without interruptions, without anybody knowing. And then we get him. We get our little green friend
But
at the
that
very end.
that's contradictory because she goes in, she says, "I need to talk with you."
Hmm.
So I'm assuming she's going to explain the situation and
Yeah.
hopefully the truth, right?
Yeah.
Because Yoda's going to sense if you're telling lies,
Whack
right?
this is. Busted you outlaw.
No training.
No training.
um, so if that's the case, it further ruins the lore of the 1,000 years of peace,
Hmm.
the 1,000 years of no Sith Lords
Yeah.
out in the
If
open that
if
they're
she
aware of.
tells Yoda about it.
It seems as that's exactly what they
Mm.
were doing, right?
Yeah, and
All that
you
was
don't think
just a
Yoda's gonna not be able to get the truth from this chick?
well, Who knows? In Leslie Headland's mind, her wife is probably as powerful as
More
Yoda.
powerful. She's greener.
Green, the green face off, the
Mhm.
green challenge of the minds. Now, it cuts off when we see the back of Yoda's head, and that's the end of season 1. It's garbage, man. Just
Yeah.
straight trash. This
How
is this is truly. I would definitely rather watch Kenobi over this garbage, man.
I hate Kenobi for what it does to that character and a lot of the good Star Wars characters.
But it's so much more tolerable.
But this uh I this is some of the worst stuff I've ever seen. I don't know how much of the credits you watch. We got a little bit more Power of One, Power of Many's music.
Did we?
Yeah, it was awesome.
I turned it off as soon as I was able. I was like, all right, Yoda's back of the head. Stop.
Mhm.
That's
And they're
exactly.
doing it again. He's a puppet. You saw
Yeah.
the way his ears move, he's a puppet.
Yeah.
Because remember when Yoda was a puppet, when everybody liked Star Wars?
Back when Star Wars was the biggest.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
boy.
wild. So, final thoughts on the season as a whole. From
Trash,
trash, garbage.
garbage. Never
Should be
wanna
thrown
see
away.
anymore.
The
If
biggest waste of $100 million, $180 million.
180,000,000. Yeah, and if guaranteed, if it gets a second season, our first thumbnail will be somehow the Acolyte returned. I'm sure that a lot of people are thinking the same thing. We gotta
Yeah.
hit it first. Somehow the Acolyte returned. Once
Somehow
we
the
see
Acolyte
that
returned.
news. Yeah.
Man, I think my final thoughts of the season as a whole is it's been a wild ride online. To hear the fans' reaction to this again, 15% audience score. There's been just nonstop saying that you're racist and sexist if you don't like the Acolyte, and all of the critics went to Rotten Tomatoes and gave it an 81% rating,
Mhm.
while the audience stayed true to their guns. They
Yeah.
gave it a 15% audience rating, and so many shill articles and people out there that are just defending the mess out of this, saying, "Oh, Star Wars can be whatever it wants to be. It can
Mhm.
evolve. It can," and it's not that it should evolve. It should evolve with existing lore, with existing story, without contradicting itself, and give us intelligent stories. You don't have to be as intelligent in the writing and everything as Andor was, but if you
Mhm.
did, we'd be more happy. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
give you that one for free. If you did something as good as Andor, the fans will be more happy, but you
Isn't it
don't.
isn't it incredible that this show, how bad it is, has been, like, the most talked about probably the most talked about Star Wars show since Mando season 2 probably, or Boba
Dude,
Fett?
it's because it's a part of the culture war, dude. It's not just entertainment. It's literally a
Mhm.
part of the culture war online, and they're trying to interject one of our favorite IPs with their politics, with their nonsense, and it should never be about that, right?
Mhm.
It should be a place where it doesn't matter what your opinions are in the real world. We should be able to rally behind this really interesting story from a galaxy far, far away, you know?
Yeah.
That's what it should
Absolutely.
be. And it's not with this season of garbage.
Yeah. That's I think that pretty much wraps it up. Tell us
Mm.
what you guys think down in the comments. We wanna hear it. Um, this is a safe space for, your venting.
Right, right.
Um,
And also, you don't have to be ashamed because you're not alone. It's the
exactly, yeah,
majority of the internet, right?
yeah. So, like the video, subscribe to the channel. May the force be with you. We'll see you next time.